What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you coming by the channel today. Today, I want to talk about the awards. We just got the list of awards yesterday, and I want to go over kind of who's on them, right? Even though we're all Colts fans, that makes us NFL fans. Want to go through this list of everything that we're looking at here, and then we're obviously throughout this thing going to talk about the Colts and where they should have fit in to this because the Colts didn't have a single person on any of these lists, okay? And some of this kind of shocking that we didn't have anybody. But when you look at the assistant coach of the year, Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Todd Monken, Jim Schwartz, and Bobby Slowick. Okay, and as we go through this, you're going to notice a theme with most of these things. If you don't pay attention to the rookie stuff, then you're going to notice a theme with all these things, okay? When you're looking at what we have here, the 5 names that we just had for assistant coach of the year, these teams made the playoffs. Okay, offensive rookie of the year, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, CJ Stroud. And in my opinion, that's the correct list, right? I'd like to put Josh Downs in there, but it just was too inconsistent throughout the year. I think we would all be able to acknowledge that. The stats just weren't there, especially when you're looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, and Puka Nacua. CJ Stroud, like, very clearly well above what Josh Downs' impact was in his rookie year. But Josh Downs showed flashes, showed that in the future he'll be able to be a star. So even though Josh Downs doesn't get this one, he's a guy that in the future I expect to be a candidate for the offensive player of the year. Okay, then when you look at the defensive rookie of the year for this year, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Joey Porter Jr., Kobe Turner, and Devin Witherspoon. I also think that's a pretty good list right there. Now, I also think that there's an argument to be made for Jalen Jones. But Jalen Jones, because Jalen Jones played basically the entire season, but Jalen Jones was so tight in coverage, he didn't really allow much, right? He didn't get thrown at much, so he doesn't have as much opportunity for passes defended. And he doesn't have as much opportunity to get the interception. So his stats aren't what other guys are. He wasn't able to do all the things that other guys are because offenses are going away from Jalen Jones. Then, like, what could he really do? I think there should have been something accounted for that because he was great. By all the metrics I've seen, Jalen Jones was one of not just the best rookie corners in the NFL, but one of the best corners in the NFL through all facets this season. Okay, I think there's a lot of promise with Jalen Jones. I think he should have at least been on the list. I don't know which one of these guys you take off. Maybe Jalen Carter. Looking at his stats and looking at what his impact was as the year went on, this feels like that Jalen Carter's name is on there just because he's Jalen Carter. But I think Jalen Jones, a 7th-round pick, and the way he played should have been on the list of defensive rookie of the years. Maybe not have won it, right? They're probably going to give that to an edge rusher. I could definitely see that. But Jalen Jones should have at least had that kind of recognition. Okay, and then comeback player of the year, I think we're all basically in the same spot, right? The nominees are Joe Flacco, Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, Tua Tagovailoa, and then, of course, Damar Hamlin, who before the season, I think we all thought, as long as this dude steps on the football field and is able to play a snap, then he's going to win the comeback player of the year. That's probably where that's going to go. Okay, and then MVP. You look at the MVP, it's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott, and Brock Purdy. Of course, the Colts didn't really have anybody this year that was going to be on that list. I don't think anybody expected any Colts to be on that list, so that is what it is. For all intents and purposes, this is a Colts channel. We're not even going to worry about that one. We did not have an MVP, even though Anthony Richardson, as long as he can stay on the field, could be a guy that gets multiple MVPs in his career. Okay, but then as we move on here, offensive player of the year, Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott. Of course, you're getting MVP candidates in here. You also get CeeDee Lamb, and you also get Tyreek Hill. I think this is another one. Don't really expect anybody to get there, right? JT missed plenty of time to not be on this list. Zach Moss wasn't the #1 all year. He's not going to be on this list. Michael Pittman Jr., for as good as he did this year, nowhere near what Tyreek Hill did. I think Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey are the 2 runaways here. And as a football fan, I'm just interested to see which way the NFL decides to go here. If they give it to a quarterback, not really going to like that. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the offensive player of the year should be a non-quarterback award since the MVP is basically just a quarterback award now. So go ahead and give me Tyreek Hill for that. Then defensive player of the year, again, the only person we could have even really had in consideration is going to be Kenny Moore, right? Kenny Moore played phenomenally and might have needed to be on this list, but you look at it, Deron Bland, Obviously, he broke the NFL record for interception return for a touchdown in a single season. Max Crosby, who had an incredible season. Myles Garrett, incredible season. Micah Parsons, who's down in, down out, is a problem in the NFL every single week. And then TJ Watt, who's probably going to win this award. This is like, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is defensive MVP, which generally goes to a defensive end. Sometimes you'll get a cornerback to get it. Every once in a blue moon, you'll end up with a linebacker getting this award. But for the most part, this is going to be a pass rusher award. So TJ Watt probably going to win this one. Colts had 51 sacks as a team, but not one guy was really that dominant TJ Watt, Myles Garrett kind of guy. Okay, and then the one that everybody's going to talk about is Shane Steichen. Was he on the Coach of the Year list? Is he available to win Coach of the Year? And these are the nominees. You have Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh, DeMeco Ryans, Kyle Shanahan, Kevin Stefanski. And it was pointed out to me, and I want to make sure everybody that's listening understands these awards, all of these awards were done being voted for 2 weeks before the end of the regular season. So the Colts hadn't even played the Texans at that point. So that discussion, whatever you were about to type in the comments, just let's have a little bit more of a discussion. Then you say your piece, okay? Because what we have here, I think this makes sense. Because, yes, Shane Steichen did a phenomenal job. The turnaround from 2022 Colts to 2023 Colts is nothing short of miraculous, but the inconsistencies of this team are, I think, what ended up keeping him out, especially when you look at the other guys, right? Dan Campbell, very deserving. John Harbaugh, the Ravens have not only been great this year, they've been dominating this year. So John Harbaugh definitely deserves to be up there. DeMeco Ryans for what he did, the turnaround of the Texans, which is more, I think, in my opinion, honestly, Texans were a harder turnaround than the Colts were, and they were able to get it done in year one of DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. Okay, Kyle Shanahan on this list. He's never won it. I don't know how he's never won it. He deserves to win Coach of the Year. What he does year in and year out, Kyle Shanahan deserves to finally get one. Okay, but I think there was, a 3-week stretch in this season where the Niners weren't really the Niners and didn't have some of their best players, right? Debo and Trent Williams were out. I think that'll be used against him, and he probably won't win it. I think it's going to be either Dan Campbell or John Harbaugh, in my opinion. Kevin Stefanski also, I think, could be a sneaky one. A lot of people not really talking about him, but all the injuries that the Browns had to deal with, and for them to be as good as they were, I think it shows a lot about the culture that they have here, there, the culture that they've been able to breed, from an organization, poverty franchise for a long time. And the way Kevin Stefanski's turned it around, it's been a little up and down in his time, but this year, specifically this year, was incredible what the Browns were able to do. I kept waiting for the fall off, just kept waiting for it, and never came. No matter what quarterback was in there, the defense kept doing their thing. The offense had some tough games. Browns were pretty good, man. So when you look at it, I just think, yes, it's tough not to see Shane Steichen on there with as great as he is, with as great as he was with this team and what he was dealt, right? Anthony Richardson, barely playing through the first 4 weeks and then is out for the rest of the season. You have to rock with Gardner Minshew. All the Jonathan Taylor stuff in the offseason and coming into the year had, Gardner Minshew and Zach Moss were the starters at their positions, right? And of course, Shaq Leonard not becoming Shaq Leonard again, and the decision to eventually trade him, like everything that Shane Steichen had to deal with. Sure, he deserves to be on the list, but so do these other guys. And I completely understand why Shane Steichen isn't there. And when you look at the rest of you look at the list, all these teams made the playoffs. And I think it's indicative, right? You look at, again, all the voting was done 2 weeks before the season ended. So it was like, people kind of knew what they were seeing. The people voting on this, in a way, knew what they were seeing and ended up going in this direction. And I think it's the right direction. So of all these awards, of all the NFL awards, there's no Colts, right? The only hope that we have is Isaiah Franklin can somehow end up with the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. But the last that I had ever heard, it was Max Crosby that was by and far and away the leader in voting for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. So I kind of expect him to end up getting that. And that's just the way that's going to go. With the Colts, no nominees. Of course, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on all this. You let me know down in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe with notifications on. We have videos every single day on this channel. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.